morning, everyone. Good to see you again. And we had remarkable discussion since morning, and I will take it forward with Satishwar. But I would like to just make a small announcement that after this session, there is a session by Mentalist Abhishek immediately after this session. So don't go away. I'm so sure that you will have a great entertainment because he's a great magician. I will not disclose much information about it, but I'm so sure that you are going to like it the most. So now let me move my focus to the life insurance and try to get some insights here. So Satishwar, the immediate question I have, we have crafted this topic or session name is from push to pull, adding speed to life. UPI has added speed to all the financial institutions and the transactions. What I want you to tell us is, Aegon Religer had a very interesting campaign a few years back, was Come Insurance Lene Ki Bimari, right? And still, when you look at largely, the penetration in the life insurance still is very low. So if you could tell us what goes wrong, why people don't buy insurance policies, why the customer interest seems very low, why there is a distribution channel, or why the penetration didn't go up. What are your observations, Satish?
Thanks, a very prominent question. And just before I actually get into the answering that thing, this is the impact which brand has, and especially a campaign which can have on the brand. So when we launched this campaign, yes, it was called as the Kill Bee, Come Insurance Lene Ki Bimari, and we were Aegon Religer at that point in time. We are now only Aegon Life Insurance. So that's a change which has been there for close to what now? More than 8 years. But I still get on keeping. But coming back to this core question, in fact, we as an industry have also been trying to figure out how do we actually cater to the demand side of it or create the demand side of it, right? The only thing which comes up again and again for us is the whole insurance thing, especially life insurance, is a very emotional subject, right? When I say emotional subject, you're actually talking about death in this case, right? It's with whenever I start explaining the benefits of the product, very consciously, I have started this behavior because normally in all marketing thing, we say that we should speak the you language, right? Whenever we are selling a product, we normally try and say anything, like how will this thing benefit you? But in this case is where I've consciously started saying I, okay? Because I have to give an example. So when I say an example, I say if I die, okay? It becomes difficult for me to say if you die. If I die, then my family gets, right? What we have realized is this is the reason, one of the reasons why nobody wants to think about it, because it's a very difficult subject to think. And two, these kind of things, we as human have this psyche that it always happens to somebody else. It never happens to me. I will never die. Accidents will not happen to me. This chandelier will never fall on me. It will happen to somebody else. So that realization is something which kind of stops us from making this a pull product. As we all know that over the years, especially LIC started with it, and we as private insurers have also been doing this. There was a lot of campaign which we did around those things. So people largely understand what insurance is, what the benefits of insurance is. It's a risk management tool, they know that. But what is lacking is the urgency, necessity, right? And that whole belief that this can happen to me, right? And it's an expense, right? So to that extent, it's an expense. It's a risk management tool first and then an investment tool. The very fact that it's an expense, and because just for an example, one of the questions when I actually was pitching this product, a pure term product, right? Finally, after hearing all those things, he came back saying, okay, if I don't die, the money goes waste, right? So that's the kind of piece which comes in. So that's one of the reasons why it's not a pull product. But having said that, it's a continuous awareness which needs to be brought in.
Yeah, sure. So when it comes to continuous awareness, and I remember your campaign was quite aggressive then, and I happened to meet a former LIC chairman then, not Mr. Kumar sir for sure, and I told him that there is this private insurance company doing a great campaign about the insurance. He says, let them do it, business mujhe hi milega. because LIC bole to insurance, life insurance, right? So I want to come back to you in terms of the private insurance take now. It's been almost 2 decades since the private insurance companies are operating in this space. Things didn't change dramatically because of whatever reasons. How do you see the things changing henceforth now? do you think that at least we have created enough awareness maybe in last 2 decades so that, we will start a journey from push to pull, and for which, what kind of strategies that the life insurance company should have, Satish?
So awareness, yes, that's one thing. But let me come back to this over, and even in the last 3 sessions that we spoke about the tech stack which is working. So there is a lot which is happening on the supply side. If you ask me, when I joined this industry, which is again in 2000 itself, the underwriting piece or the whole process in itself was pretty lengthy. So there were two pieces, right? Broadly two kind of sections. One is first to convince the customer that he needs to have a life insurance policy. That itself used to take a lot of effort from a partner perspective. But once a partner or once a customer is convinced, the second process of actually the operational side of it, of getting him a life cover, that itself was also pretty painful, right? So there was a lot of friction on those pieces. But now, if you look at it, and which also came up in the earlier session, right? These frictions have been reduced. It has gone zero, not yet. But with the way the India tech stack is coming up, I think it's a matter of time. For example, in our process at Aegon Life, what we do is we are clearly zero ops, zero doc. And it's a very conscious piece of calling it as zero ops, which is, I think, in the earlier session, the CEO of Tata AIG is kind of raised saying, if somebody is still doing a data entry, I don't know what era is he living in, right? So it's that piece of moving the entire ops in such a way that it happens on its own. So we are moving into zero ops, zero docs, and zero doc by also that I mean it's not even a scanned image. Okay, for us, a scanned image is a zero doc. To that extent, sorry for this, but I also don't like OCR because it's actually converting something which is a scanned or a document into text, right? So from that perspective, it's all those third-party resources or the third-party sources, data sources, which is helping us moving into that space. That is working. And if ABA comes in, and I hope it comes in kind of in a much better scale quickly, we are also done with the physical medical, which basically can give us this opportunity of doing the second leg of the insurance, which is the operational side of it, totally frictionless. The moment the customer has agreed, decided to buy, it's a fraction of seconds for him to get a policy on his hand. So that is not very far off. So that's kind of done. On the demand side, the way I look at it, as I said, it's a risk management tool, and that awareness that a risk management tool has to come in. For instance, the whole savings product, which is actually occupying the larger scale of the insurance business, right, is sold as an investment tool. You will hardly see any campaign which talks about the insurance cover in it, right? There is a cost to it. And that's the reason why you kind of find the returns, which are quite competitive, by the way, in comparison to some other instruments, might be a little low, but it actually takes care of a huge potential. For example, I strongly believe that the insurance savings product is in the best position to take care of your child education. Now, why do I say that? Is the child to advanced studies, right? So largely at the age of say 18 or 21. And we as parents actually start preparing for it from the very first or the second year itself. Now what happens that while my kid is say age 10 and I am not there, right? Which basically means that the flow stops, the contribution stops. Now, it's the only insurance companies which can ensure that even if the contribution is stopped, that lump sum is still kind of made available to her, right? Now, that's how the risk management piece, along with investment, can get catered by life insurance. So that's on the investment side. Similar is on the term side, right? So if something happens to me, at least my financial doesn't, or the family doesn't have to worry about the financial side of it. Having said that, the awareness side for people to actually kind of imagine that situations, imagine those scenarios is something which doesn't come up. And that's where it still becomes a push product. So from this whole piece, as I said, we are doing a lot on the supplier side. We are enabling these conversations. We are enabling through all those digital means, this conversation to be much more efficient from a partner perspective, much more effective. Somebody said personalization, yes. So when I'm talking to you, Amol, I'm actually talking to you in terms of very specific benefit illustrations is one example, but I can actually customize the discussion points with you. And this can be enabled through the digital means, which between the manufacturer and the partner can come through. So if I'm talking to you with a handheld device, I am very well informed about you and my solution is more catered to you. So we are trying to do all this. The larger part of actually creating a pull, that's a long drawn process. But what I what we strongly believe in, and there is a lot of lobbying which we are trying to do, is making financial awareness part of education curriculum itself, right? So once that comes in, is where people actually start thinking financial planning. And when one of the primary elements of financial planning is risk management, in terms of the financial risk management, and one of the core products to do that is life insurance, right? So for example, even for mutual funds, yes, it's a pull, but you still want somebody to come and tell you which fund, right? So intermediation is still there. Similar in life insurance. So even if I decide I want to have a life insurance policy, I still want somebody to come and tell me which one, right? What is the right product for me?
Yes.
Because this is the awareness which comes in. Whenever it comes in, and this is going to take a lot of time, that's when it will get into a pure digital law. When I say a direct to customer kind of a mode, till that time, it's the responsibility of the insurance companies, the manufacturers, and the partners in the form of distribution to make it very convenient for the end customer to understand that space and do that. So that itself will help us increase the penetration to a very great extent. But the awareness comes in, and that's the slingshot which Mr. Kumar spoke about, will happen once this awareness comes in. And that's where we get into a different trajectory altogether.
Sure. I have a couple of questions, but I will ask one quick question to Satish, and maybe I will take one question from you. So be ready with that if you have any specific questions. So Satish, I learned from strategy, the product, and in fact, you described it really well in terms of how the demand is also there and how customers should have, insurance companies should look at the customers. You mentioned about personalization. So my question is now based on that. When we say, and this conference is about digital, right? Everybody is adopting digital far more aggressively today. What kind of difference the technology or specifically digital will make for you or the life insurers? Will it create demand? Will it solve the problem of distribution? Will it actually help you customize the products? Will it actually solve the problem which you have been struggling since last 2 decades?
In the short run, this definitely is going to solve my supply side issues. Okay, as I spoke, there are two aspects to the whole process, right? First is kind of convincing the customer to buy a life insurance policy, and the second is the fulfillment piece. So now the major ecosystem which has been made available, and thanks to the various government tech stack, that the India tech stack which we're talking about, that has enabled us to take care of the second leg, right? So you will see a lot of efficiency coming in there, and this in itself helps improve the productivity of the distributor or the partner, right? So when you're having, so that kind of makes that whole space. And as I said, on the first leg, this itself allows the partner to, in case he was actually doing, say, one policy a day, it allows now him to move into at least some multiple 2 or 3 policies, because the second leg is taken care of. He can actually move away and trying to start making more marketing specs or marketing pitches rather than assembling paper from the partner or from the customer, right? So that itself will give us a flip in terms of increasing the demand and reaching out to the more pieces. Plus the various pieces in terms of the regulator bringing out, which are very quite easy to consume products, right? And it's very affordable. So very affordable with those, with the Vistar and the Vahak thing, it will become also very accessible, right? So all those things are getting bridged. Again, it's all the supply side pieces. We need a lot of campaign and a lot of awareness and something which starts building into kids from the very beginning, because that's exactly something which helps people to understand their financial planning over their life. Will help us actually creating that larger demand.
Sure. So I have a couple of questions, but I think the time is limited. But let me take one question from somebody if he has any specific question. Can you have a mic there on the third table in this right row? Yeah,
Hi.
please.
Hi, my name is Anuj Saraswat. I'm from Hitachi Payments. Been a banker throughout, not from the insurance industry. So you did mention about life insurance as a good investment option, and you cited example for child education. Do you think the kind of success which have been seen in the mutual fund industry, specifically with the mutual fund Sahi Hai campaign and SIPs going through the roof, do you think that collaboration over there will make sense? Specifically, instead of pushing across insurance as an investment option, if you tag along with a investment product, be it SIP or a recurring deposit or a goal-based saving, and do a top-up on that for a term life for a smaller value, does that make more relevance over there? Because there was one product which was introduced by DSP, mutual fund, super SIP, along with Bajaj, almost like, 15, 20 years. I have not seen many insurance companies getting into that space because that gives you your goal-based target in terms of what exactly you are looking out for as an investment return and the pooling of funds. At the same time, you are also protected towards just in case of eventuality, someone passes by. So I don't foresee or not very strong supporter of insurance as an investment product because we all know that almost 30 to 40% of the sales which happen over there is mis-selling. So what are your views on that?
Thank you.
And thanks for that question, actually. So the immediate response is absolutely. So anything which helps us reach out to as many customers as possible, we should and we will be doing that. But coming back to the question of why do we want, and this is again going back to the financial awareness. The discipline that you need to maintain towards the goal, right? For just the same example, if I can dwell on that further. The average tenure of a mutual fund SIP, even now, is not even crossing 2 years, right? That definitely is not something which is going to suffice for your child's education. So till that time comes, and that again has to come through awareness. And that's the reason I was very conscious. I didn't say insurance awareness, but it's a financial awareness because you need to understand that whole thing together. So wherever those things can come in, we would want to do that, right? So currently the product, the investment product, and the other reason why investment products through the life insurance came into picture was to take care of this whole piece in terms of me not talking about death, right? We were finding it extremely difficult, and I'm talking not now or post-privatization, but this is since life insurance came into the picture itself, right? It was a very difficult conversation to have, and that's where it got bundled with the investment product itself. So the conversation became easier. So have something at least rather than nothing, right? So the purest form of insurance was difficult to sell, and that's where investment came in. But I take your point. Anything which becomes goal-based and attaching a life insurance component to it, it works wonderfully well. Let it be if the customer decides to form a combination of multiple products and do that. In fact, wherever people, if they are deploying or employing financial advisors, that's the route they take, right? But the financial advisors also ensure that they stick on and maintain that discipline. The usage of financial advisors itself is very limited. So whenever that happens, this will automatically happen. So it's not something that we are discouraging, but it is not something which is getting picked up on its own.
Thanks, Satish. And we have another panel specifically on the collaborations between the insurance companies and other aggregators. So stay tuned to that. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to us very patiently. And thanks, Satish, for adding speed to life or giving some information on how to move from push to pull. Thank you so much.